Okay, I want to do a video so people can get a better look at these marble fill Kalatoa crosses. And this is for a focal point, so I know where it's at. Alright, so I kind of want to explain why these look the way they do and how I knew that they would look like this, and that's the whole reason I did the breeding. So I guess the first thing is I'll point out the one flaw they have. The one flaw comes from the fill traits that a lot of fills tend to have a back pattern that sits higher up on their back and doesn't overlap into their sides. Like a good example of something that has that is a Solaire has that. Some Solas have it, some don't, but a lot of the Jampianus has wider back diamonds that overlap down onto the sides. A lot of Ternates have it. Some of the Halmas have it. So that was the one negative aspect of the fill traits. But the positive traits from the fill, I felt outweighed that one negative, namely their side color, which is they have a ton of side color, they have a ton of side pattern, the surrounding brighter colors that go around the black and white, they have a ton of that. They have a lot of black inside the back pattern, which you can clearly see, I'm sure there, and even the more striped out ones still have a lot of black inside. With that said, the back pattern also tends to be sharp and jagged instead of rounded. And the other trait is they have a lot of black ticking on the side. So when you add all of those together, it can only add up to insanely nice marbles when bred into it, because the fill traits tend to really dominate in their expression, in your hatchlings. And I saw this in my 50% fill, 25% Jamp Platies, which I'll show one of those in a minute. And I've seen it in other people's breedings on the internet, that just how much influence fill locales tend to have. So that's why these actually look this way. And it's not because of the marble gene. It's because of the secondary traits of a locality. So that's what I think people need to understand. The importance of localities is you can drastically improve the look of things by simply adding a little bit of locality blood. And it's not the morph that you need, it's the locality blood that you need. It's these secondary traits that creates that back pattern, those side colors, the black ticking, that has nothing to do with marble, but all those traits enhance the marble gene. So these are 50% fill, 25% Kalatoa, and it was a small clutch, so I didn't even really get to see much variation. So I mean, because fills have giant ass eggs, and if it would have been a 20-25 egg clutch, I'm sure I'd have got to see even crazier stuff. But it was a really small clutch, so we only got to see a handful of marbles. So, but even with that handful of snakes, we still got these amazing animals, and it was brought about because of the secondary traits from the locality. So if you're not working with localities, the chances you're ever going to get something like this is slim to none, especially if you're using a lot of inbred stuff and you're using a lot of rounded back pattern stuff. So I wanted to just explain that as to why they look like this and how I knew it was a good idea to do the breeding. So now I'll show you a platy fill, part fill, part jam, and you'll be able to see how much the fill influenced that animal and why I kept it back. And they'll be unrelated to these guys, so I'll be able to breed them together to make platy marble fills. They'll also have Calistoa and jam blood. So I'll show that in a second here. Here is my holdback platy fill with jam blood. As you can see, it has a massive amount of fill influence, massive amount of side pattern, side color. It actually turned the platinum from yellow to green basically, and you should be able to see all the black ticking. And black ticking might not be that desirable in, say, something like a platinum, but I specifically held back a pair of platinums that had the highest amount of fill traits because I knew I wanted to do a fill marble breeding. So I'll be able to breed this into the marble fills and keep a massive amount of this black ticking, which helps the marbling effect by not creating more marbling, but simply adding to it. And you can see how this, totally changed the color. Yeah, but you can also see how the back pattern sits up. So that's the one flaw. But I can later on fix that with Ternate blood. So I'll show you a pure fill to give you an idea of why. I already explained why the marbles look like they look, but I'm going to show you why they look like they look and why they had to look that way by genetic necessity, not mere chance or luck. Okay. So, here is a 2-year-old pure fill. As you can see, back pattern sits up high, but you have all this black inside the pattern itself. You have a sharp to semi-sharp edges. You have black in between the diamonds, black inside the diamonds. You have a higher contrast for green and yellow on the sides. You have a lot of black ticking. So I wasn't pissing in the wind when I did that breeding. It was calculated and intentional, and you also get that nice head stamp. So this is why you work with locality blood. If you're not working with locality blood, your retics within the next 5 years will be totally obsolete. Between the amount of people, it's not even that many, but the amount of people smart enough to start downsizing everything with the Jampianus and using other localities to aesthetically improve the look of morphs, just having a simple run-of-the-mill inbred rounded back pattern snake isn't going to do anything, because it's not going to look like anything new or special. You're going to be competing with a lot of people, and you're not going to have anything that stands out. So whether or not you're buying localities from me or somebody else, regardless of what you choose, what localities you choose, I suggest you start getting a small group, at least a small group, to constantly be upgrading the look of the animals you're producing. So, but yeah, these are really nice. These are just such an underrated animal, and I was kind of surprised when I made Pures that there was zero interest in these guys, and I just found that amazing. But a lot of people don't understand this locality potential, or the importance of producing pures, since we can't import, we can't get anything new. But that's it for this video.